Nigerians have been facing so much recently, and that was after the assumption of office by this present administration. One of the things that hit Nigerians hardly was the removal of subsidy. The effect of this removal of subsidy has never been forgotten until now. Rather, it is increasing by the day, and a lot of Nigerians are saying so many things. Then, a statement that came from the World Bank few weeks ago about the fact that Nigeria needs to sustain these policies so that they can be up and doing in 10 years or 15 years from now has raised eyebrow from a lot of Nigerians, including action aids. Away from that, let's quickly look at what is coming up since yesterday, that the World Bank and IMF is responsible for the decisions taken by the federal government, and someone will be wondering, when did this started? But then you can't take it away that there are ways these organizations influence policies and actions of countries around the world. Today, we want to look at the impact of the removal of subsidy, which is growing by the day. But then, Nigeria Labour Congress have blamed IMF and World Bank for the federal government's decision to remove subsidy. How does that sound to you? That's what we will be discussing on the second segment of the discussion this morning. And I have my guest joining me right here in the studio. He's someone that he's so apt in his analysis, and that's exactly what we will be getting this morning. Monday Eje is a legal practitioner and a public affairs analyst, and he's joining me on the program this morning. Good morning, Monday.
Good morning, Mr. Ramsey.
It's good to have you right here on the program.
Same here. It's good to be here once again.
As it is, Nigerians have been facing, well, every day there is this expectation that very soon we will get out of it. More so that the president is always promising that there would be light at the end of the tunnel. The Nigerian Labour Congress have not stopped talking. And you know, when we talk about the Nigerian Labour Congress, you know who they are. These people have come out to say, well, the World Bank and IMF, okay, are to be blamed for the federal government's decision to remove fuel subsidy. But it's so amazing that we've been hearing of the removal of fuel subsidy, not just with this administration, but before this administration came into office and the bull was taken by the horn. Right now, this statement coming from NLC, is it because of what Nigerians are going through, or you feel there is a reason why they are saying what they are saying?
I think the basic role of the IMF and which some other people perceive or call the World Bank is simply to help its member countries and nations to achieve development. So in doing this, they run studies, they run researches, they consult far and wide, they hire professionals across member countries, they look into the economic indicators of countries, and they come out with treaties, they come out with suggestions and recommendations. And I sincerely do not think that when these recommendations or suggestions are made, and we are all aware that over the years there has been this demands from these organizations to the effect that some subsidies be removed, naira be floated and whatnot. And I can personally tell you as well that some financial systems across the globe do not allow certain countries to run direct transactions on their platform internationally because certain policies have not been implemented that were recommended from certain bodies. I'll give you an example. If you pick your dollar card or your naira card, at some point in time, we were able to transact on the net with our naira cards. So when you make your purchase, they convert the dollar rates to naira rates, and you pay, and your bank funds, your bank ensures that the transaction sails through by meeting your financial obligations from their end. Then later, that wasn't feasible. I can categorically tell you that as I'm seated there, even my dollar card can't go through transactions regardless of the policies. So now, the second aspect of it, I haven't stated the least role of the IMF. The second aspect of this discussion is to the effect that we have seen drastic economic policies under this renewed hope slogan and agenda and so on. And many of these policies have been tagged as Western-inclined policies, capitalist-inclined policies. And we've seen removal of fuel subsidy, which was not matter-of-factly removed by this particular government, but which consequences became rife, though, because the president of this current administration made a pronouncement on it on the very first day of his inauguration. We've seen floating of the naira, we've seen bank recapitalization, we've seen removal of subsidy from the electricity sector. We can go on and on, but I think these are the basic policy reforms that have been most biting on the citizenry. Now, okay.
Okay, yeah. I think you made some salient points, and that's the fact that these are instructions that may come. But then, don't you think the federal government, on their own part, are supposed to know what is good for the country? Because the removal of subsidy, which is biting hard right now on the economy and Nigerians, happened almost immediately before this government came into office, before operations even started. So as it is right now, can we say the decision of IMF or World Bank, as the case may be, irrespective of the fact that sometimes they assist countries, should their own decision supersede the decision of the country, because the country has people in power who decides what happened, who take decisions and all of that? Should their own decision, okay, exceed or maybe overpower that of the federal government? Is it possible?
Okay, let me be frank. Let's just be categorical about certain things. I'm not privy to the fact that these policies are being engineered by the IMF or World Bank. I'm aware that when certain policies were made, we had responses from the IMF and the World Bank and other countries coming to encourage the government to continue in that path and so on. But what I know is that the current handlers of the economy probably had what they wanted to do before they came on board. So if NLC says these decisions are the decisions of IMF or World Bank, I will not say they are correct. I will not also say they are wrong. No. But the individuals involved, like the president, has a long political history. He also has a long economic history and background.
Okay.
Now, these policies are not new to him. If you pick Lagos and you use Lagos as a case study, you will understand that revenue drive has been something that our current president has been into for a long time. Lagos, as a state, raised revenues, carried out infrastructural development at a time that they were not getting allocations from the federal government. And how did the president do it at that time? He did it simply by carrying out rigorous revenue drive. So if somebody comes up today and say, oh, these policies are policies that were shoved on him by the IMF or World Bank, I may not agree totally. Because while we understand that certain comments from certain quarters give us the, because when you go to take loans, for example, those loans, those monetary requests, they come with conditions. We've heard over the years the fact that we've been asked to devalue Naira, we've been asked to do this and that and that. Ghana did a whole lot of that when they were rolling out, after which they rolled out statistics of how good they are and so on and so forth. But we know the story today. Now, back to this. I just said, let me clear that. The president has that history already. So I won't say of a necessity it was the IMF and World Bank that
why is it not replicating? Why is the same thing not being replicated in Nigeria? Because a lot of Nigerians were looking at his antecedents in Lagos State, like you actually made reference to it right now. So why is the economy happening, taking this toll? Why is the same thing not being replicated?
You see, Lagos is one thing. Nigeria as a country is another thing entirely. Now, if you go to Lagos and you ask the people of Lagos, they will not tell you that they enjoy those policies. They won't say it. Maybe part of the policy or some of these policies are reasons why they are facing some sort of political challenges or opposition, rife ones within the system. When you pull out monies from people by way of taxes and so on and so forth, from hotels, from quarters that taxes were not ordinarily coming forth from before you come, the people won't begin to clap for you and start shouting, oh, it's Uhuru, it's Uhuru. There must be some form of pain. If you go to Lagos, they will tell you that. Now, back to the national stage. Now, my problem with all of these policies put together, when they lifted, when they made that pronouncement, prices went up, cost of living became so high, people couldn't get what they need to get, wages are stagnant, civil servants have only been told of increments from minimum wage increase from 30,000 to 70,000. And I doubt if they've even started receiving or collecting that money. And these negotiations spanned a period of 1 year. There was nothing that was done to substantially cushion the effect. Of course, I am aware that some social nets were introduced in the wages they collected and so on and so forth. But nothing substantial. Even that 70,000 naira that was negotiated, taking a period of over a year to have them arrive at, cannot even sustain them, as it were. Now, that is ongoing. People have not yet come to terms with it. There's no balance yet in the economy and in the lives of the people you are governing. Then you introduce almost immediately, you float the naira. You introduce this idea of you want to close the gap between the parallel markets and then the official market windows, and the dollar rate vis-a-vis the naira rate is up. And we know that we are basically a consumer country. And then we import it. Even the things we produce, the raw materials, and the equipment are basically imported. Then at the same time, in the wharf, the border areas, the tin cans, and so on and so forth, duty, what importers now have to pay to bring in their products, to clear their containers from the wharf, is also up. That means that there is pressure from the removal of the subsidy already because of the fuel increase. Then there is pressure from the exchange rate that was floated. And now you have another pressure from the angle of the imports that are coming in. It was reported at some point in time that they had 15 different rates in a particular month in the wharves. Exchange rates.
15 different exchange rates.
This one will come, but before you know, 15 changes. Before they settle down, another one hits. Oh, it has now increased to this and increased. They had that increment 15 times. And what this does to the economic system is that the people you transact with overseas will not even know what rates to use to calculate whatever it is they are doing per time.
But NLC now, let's talk to NLC a little bit. Why it's been a while. NLC have gone to the discussion table with the federal government times without number. They never made it plain or let Nigerians know that IMF and World Bank is responsible for this decision. Let's talk about NLC right now. Why is NLC coming out to say this now? Because NLC is, some Nigerians are believing NLC is becoming something else. Okay, that NLC is lost, has lost it or something.
My brother, let me reiterate once more. We cannot blame the IMF or World Bank for whatever is happening to us. You know, I have an hypothesis for my analysis, but I don't want to bring that in yet at this stage. By the time we are closing, I will have to reintroduce that. Now, NLC, I don't even know what they are NLC in, or what they are trade union in quote. Please permit me to use these languages. They are as redundant as you can define redundancy. They are not doing anything as ever described to help boost the welfare of the citizenry. If it were in the days of Oshiomhole, you will have some tangible response from NLC. This same NLC that has called strike for how many times and the strike never materialized, the protest or whatever never materialized, that people organized or were talking about end bad governance in quotes. This is not to say that this station or myself is describing the governance as bad, but what we are just trying to say is that there was a protest being organized for the purpose of addressing these issues, and NLC or TUC didn't deem it fit to participate or even encourage, even if it is by way of words. Is it the same NLC that sat down and said nothing or did nothing when protesters were arrested and were being arraigned up and down from court to court, people just taken from their houses in the wee hours of the morning, 2 a.m., 1:30 a.m., they pick them, they bundle them, they collect their phones, take them to a particular agency, from there to another sister security agency, and from there to the courtrooms, and charge sheets are still being amended, and NLC is not doing anything or saying anything. Is it the same NLC that will only talk or be serious with a strike action or protest, or begin to talk forcefully because their leader or leaders were beaten in a particular state, or was arrested, or no, not arrested even at that point. It was just an invitation, a police invitation for interrogation. Is it the same NLC we are talking about?
But some persons say the NLC has been politicized. What's your thought about that? That politics
politicizing NLC is even a simple issue compared to what we are discussing here now. Is Labour Party not a political party? Recently, is the presidential candidate not trying to talk? Is PDP not a political party? Even though I barely heard them talk. But I know that at some point, APC was in the opposition. They were rife with their criticisms. They were serious with it. Whether you call any name you want to call it, call it. But if you do anything and the situation is not going fine, they take it and amplify it. If people can sit together and then tell you, oh, they will occupy Nigeria, and for a very long time they occupied everywhere, play music, dancing, and so on and so forth. And when this when the APC government came on board, I told my friends categorically that, look, forget protest. Forget any serious opposition from trade unions or NGOs. These men are masters of the game. They are friends.
Okay.
They are friends.
I wanted to ask.
Together for a very long time.
Okay, you mean both NLC executives, the political party in power?
Yes,
they are all
together for a very long time. You recall that PDP was in power from 1999 until recently. All that period, the heat of opposition that you saw were being engineered, programmed, masterminded, executed by the same men. So we are in the game together. They know your formula. They understand how NLC operates. So they nip the situations in the bud before they even come up. Maybe they even probably have secrets they share.
So in other words, if I get you right, in other words, what you're trying to say now is that NLC is contributing to what Nigerians are facing right now.
I agree with you. So they are not doing anything.
Can you really point to that? Because that sounds like an allegation. Don't you think so?
I've said all about it already now. When I raised those questions, those series of rhetorical questions, what do you think I was saying? Okay, you tell me, what protest, what step, what tangible step have you seen? What kind of standoff, let me put it that way, have you seen? What reaction? I'm not talking about, because there's a difference between response and reaction. When you introduce something drastically, ordinarily you expect some instant reaction.
Yeah, sure.
Before maybe explanations will come forth and so on and so forth, they negotiate back and forth, and then you have a resting place. What has been the reaction of TUC and Ajeru? In fact, this TUC man even tried a little. He was coming to the television to blow grammar. I understand that. Ajeru, what has he even done? So these are the issues. It's not whether or not you make deductions from certain conduct. And I'm telling you the honest situation about what we have currently. It's like my friends are in power. There's an extent to which I can publicly embarrass them. They are friends. They worked together in the opposition for years.
Oh, okay. Let's look at it from the aspect of a legal practitioner. As a legal practitioner, what do you think can be done if an organization like the Nigerian Labour Congress is not representing the interests of the people? Do you think the people have any right? Because most times some people said NLC is Labour Congress, that most of the things they do is for federal government workers, that the private sector is not even affected that much. But then we know that what Nigerians believe is if NLC is doing anything, they believe is for the generality of all Nigerians. But as it is right now, the executives were elected into office, where I don't know how they got their way there. They are now the executives, and what they are doing, if it is not in the interest of Nigerians, legally, can anything be done to call them to order or to remove them as a legal practitioner? Do you think it's possible?
Well, labor unions and the politics of labor unions and the laws guiding labor unions are an entirely different segment or sector or part on its own. It's large, it's huge. They have their own politics and a whole lot of things. Now, first, the NLC, the TUC, they are trade associations. They are supposed to protect the interests of their members, who are employees, who are basically employees in the system. Now, being an association, ordinarily your membership should be voluntary. Now, it appears that funding also comes from the membership. the dues they pay and so on and so forth. I don't know how they go about it. Maybe they deduct from source or something. I've not studied NLC and TUC. So one of the things you can do, presumably, is if it's an association and you voluntarily join it, you can pull out your support for the association by refusing to be a member. Oh, you are not supporting us. I'm not interested in this association again. I'm pulling out. But then, pulling out will now become, whether you even pull out or not, whether you're a member or not, like you rightly said, some people feel whatever they are doing should be for public sector employees. That will not be absolutely correct, though, because when they argue and argue for minimum wages, if the law is passed or is made, every employer of labor is expected to comply. Okay. So indirectly, legally speaking, what they are doing still benefits the ordinary man on the street. Okay. In my estate, we're discussing security issues. And we said, oh, we need to increase the number of security people who have within the estates this period. And somebody raised an observation, look, with what is coming up, we need to also increase facility charges. And another person said, no, we cannot increase facility charges. We just increased barely a year, we want to increase again. And then the matter came up to the effect that, look, minimum wage has just been pegged at 70,000, which means that you cannot pay a security guard less than 70,000. So why I brought in this analogy is to the effect that the security guard is a private security outfit. But in paying them now, we are considering the minimum wage bill or law. So that consideration affects everybody. So it's suffice to say that whatever they do affects all.
That's the Nigerian Labour Congress.
Yes, that's the Nigerian Labour Congress and the TUC. But what you can do to them, I've not seen copies of their constitution, but I know that there should be procedures for change when you feel you are not satisfied with all things being equal. If touting is taken from it, if thuggery is taken from it, if rigging is taken from the process, you can tell your leaders, oh, what you are doing, we are not satisfied with it. We need a change. We want to recall you. We will pass vote of no confidence on you, and a whole lot of things. So this structure, these checks and balances should ordinarily be in their constitution.
Okay, thank you very much, AJ. Let's talk about the federal government right now, because the federal government is the accused in this situation right now. I'm speaking like a legal practitioner now because I have an esquire in the studio. All right, the federal government are the ones accused right now. Okay, are they accused that the decision they made is actually influenced by the IMF and, of course, the World Bank. Let's look at how decisions are being made, okay, by the government. Let's look at the government of today. The decisions, some policies, a lot of policies have been made in the past, and policies are still being made. And the impact of this policy, okay, whether positive or negative, is supposed to be assessed from time to time, because there is what is called a feedback mechanism. There's supposed to be a feedback mechanism. Even at home, anywhere you make a policy, the effect and the impact of that policy is supposed to be assessed via what we call the feedback mechanism. What can you say about this government so far? Because so many things happening as a result of policies that have been made by this government, this regime, since assumption in office. And one thing this government has not stopped saying is that we know what we are doing. We are going somewhere. Okay, we will soon arrive there'll soon be lights at the end of the tunnel. And we'll keep hearing different things from different quarter. Today you hear that the marketers now have access to products. Tomorrow you hear that foreign organizations are coming to patronize Dangote. Next tomorrow you hear that, well, CNG is available. If you cannot afford fuel for 1,000 naira, at least 250 naira for CNG is there. Some Nigerians will also tell you, hey, come on, you're talking about CNG here. The CNG points that we have in Nigeria, how many vehicles can it actually service? Because someone on my program here said he spent close to 3 hours plus to get a CNG. His car is actually converted to get the compressed natural gas. And we're talking about all of this. These things are coming up as a result of certain policies. What do you think the federal government is supposed to do as a legal practitioner and a public affairs analyst to make sure there is a feedback and something else needs to be done apart from the promises that Nigerians are getting?
Well, I will tell you that in terms of feedback, I think the government gets feedback, and I know they respond to feedback. I have studied the current president for a while, and I know it takes public opinion seriously. I know he has a way of testing issues in the media, and that is why every time he tells you, look, you have to bear this pain a little more. I know this is painful, because he's aware it's actually painful. He's not shying away from the fact that people are going through a lot. He understands that fact. If they've called for strikes several times and those things, that action didn't happen, the failure of those strike actions before they even started is as a result of the response to the calls. That is an instance of receiving feedback. If you watch the way the foreign exchange issue has been going, you'll also understand the fact that there appears to be some policy somersault at some point in time. And that at some point in time, government also injected funds into that system to borrow the change and other parties or stakeholders in the system to ensure that, yes, the naira gains balance. That issues like that amount to a response to the effect of the policies they have put in place. Now, I'm aware, I don't have the facts and figures and details, but I'm aware some social interventions were also introduced. At this moment, we are not talking about the viability or otherwise of the social interventions or the relevance or irrelevance of the social interventions. We are simply saying that, look, social interventions were introduced, sometimes staple foods or food items, and then cash transfer and some other things. I'm also aware that efforts were made with respect to, what do you call them now, MSMEs, medium and small scale enterprises, and so on and so forth. In fact, currently there is a window for application for funding, for funds for this category of persons. Now, this is also an instance of feedback. So we will not say that the government is not receiving feedback and probably not responding. But whatever response or feedback that has come will not be justified entirely, because the man on the street does not appreciate your application of David Easton's feedback analysis with respect to governance. They won't understand it. What they want is they want to be able to buy their bread at an affordable rate. They should be able to take their tea or their Lipton. They should be able to buy gari at an affordable rate.
At least.
Yes. They should be able to move to work and back without them having to receive tips or take bribes from their offices, because sincerely I don't even know how civil servants are coping.
That reminds me, do you think the present condition may lead to increase in corruption in the country?
Definitely it will.
Looking at what people are facing.
Yes, people are trying to survive. So definitely it will. If you are earning 30 or 50,000 and that's what they are still giving you, and you are living in somewhere like Orozo in Abuja, you know the cost of transportation. From my estate to the junction where people bought vehicles to work before, it used to be 150, 200. Now it's 300, 400. Some people even charge you 500. That's just bike out. Then where you used to pay 200, 300, you are now paying 700. Some people are paying 800. So before you go to work and back, you have spent about 2,000 naira. Won't you eat in the office? And you've not started receiving your minimum wage. So how are you surviving? So these are the issues. So whatever feedback analysis we do, or the government thinks they have, it does not change anything, really. Because the man on the street, and these are the areas I think the government should look into. The effect, the man on the street, because all these social interventions are busy sharing money and sending to states and so on, and they are busy swallowing them, and maybe new monkeys, new types of snakes, maybe at the end of this government you start hearing elephants swallowed money or crocodiles swallowed money. So you see, it's a pity.
A lot of
and they are really swallowing. If they are not swallowing, somebody will not stand up and say
that could be a human monkey, human snake, elephant, and all of that. So we can categorically say that the present situation, okay, as it were, because the former president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, talking about Olusegun Obasanjo, said, I think a week ago, that out of school children are actually being breeded for Boko Haram because they can be conscientized easily to join that. So can we now say the increase in crime, corruption, and kidnapping and other things can actually be connected to the problem we are having in the country right now?
You know, when you have a criminal with you, you catch a criminal and you sit the criminal down, and you ask him, why are you doing this? He will give you a reason. He will give you a reason. You might want to say, oh, whatever reasons you have given is not justified. You are in breach of the law. Yes, fine. You can say so. But the frustration in the system is definitely leading to more crimes. Right. There are areas in this city that people don't sleep at night again.
In that area, well, that's going to be where we'll call it a wrap on the Global Morning for today. As a matter of fact, the situation has led to so many other things: corruption, kidnapping, insecurity. We can't be fighting insecurity and be making way for things that will breed insecurity and, of course, corruption in the country. Thank you very much, Mr. Eje, for coming around. Monday Eje is a legal practitioner and a public affairs analyst. It's good to have you on the program today.
Thank you for having me. The pleasure is mine.
All right, this is the size of this discussion. After this break, Global Morning will be coming to an end. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. It has been a very wonderful time. Join us again tomorrow for another edition of Global Morning. My name is Ramsey Enoch. Have a wonderful day ahead of you. Bye-bye for now.
Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature
was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from.
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
We struggled as to strike.
The Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.